Alright, what's up guys? Hollywood Mechanic here, and I've got some top tools for you today. If you're going to be working on a supercar, you might want to add these to your arsenal. Alright guys, I'm going to go ahead and mention some things in this video about product tiers, and we've made a separate video just about product tiers that you should go check out. But if you hear me referencing tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, it basically is a top tier, middle tier, or lower tier. And that usually goes into the quality and the price. The better the quality, typically the higher the price, brings into a top tier 1 versus a cheaper or lower quality product is going to be a tier 3. So make sure you check out our video if you have any questions. It applies to not just tools, but also any purchase you make in your life. Alright guys, tool number 1 is a double action needle nose pliers. I can't tell you how many times I've dropped something down into a place that's very difficult to get to, and those little grabbers, the little spring-loaded things, just didn't have the might to bite a hold of it, and this has helped a lot. It also helps whenever you're trying to tighten something that's very far away, that maybe is too close to another thing, like a firewall, to get a fitting on. Many times I've used this to just kind of encourage the screw to get started so that I could then fit a fitting in there and get it tightened the rest of the way down. So this tool is just a little bit of a secret gem, honestly. Next one is a Milwaukee electric ratchet. Guys, these are paramount for any technician working, especially career technicians. You need to save your joints and you need to save time, and this will help you do it. Milwaukee makes a great line. This is what I would call a tier 2 tool. It's not extremely high priced, and it does not break at the same time, so it hits that middle ground. They make a lot of different models of this. You can get it in a quarter drive, in a long neck version, in a half-inch drive. The reason that I went with the 3/8 and the low torque 3/8 is because it fits in a lot of tight places. It's easy to use an adapter for quarter-inch or for half-inch drive. It's got plenty of torque. I think it boasts like 35 pounds. The only drawback to using these electric ratchets is that you're used to applying torque from as far onto the tool as you can grip, and on these you really don't want to do that. The end of the tool is the battery, so if you're pressing hard on this battery pack, you may damage the battery. You want to make sure you use a firm grip in the middle area, and of course always whenever you're breaking loose the torque to loosen a bolt or finishing the torque, you don't want to do it by the electric action. You want to start by hand and then ratchet it off. And the same for tightening it up. And then, like all the tools today, just make sure you check the description for a link where you can get your own. Alright guys, the next tool is an amazing tool that I'm surprised more techs don't use, and that's the headlamp. This one was turned on to me by a SnapOn truck driver, but this one is an amazing light. It's made by LED Lenser, and it has, I think it's like a 40 or 60 hour on time from the fully charged. It's rechargeable as well from a battery pack in the back. You just use a micro USB to plug that in, so every day when I go home, just throw it on a charge and it's fresh for the next day. It does have a light on the back for if you're like bicycling to and from work and you want something up high to maybe catch the eye of drivers going by. It also can adjust brightness by using this dial in the back. I find that a lot of techs get ridiculed for using a headlamp. You look like a coal miner, yada yada. Work smarter, not harder. Get yourself a headlamp. Alright guys. Next tool is a Flexi Magnet, or I don't know what the official name is for that. That's what we're going to call it today. This thing is a clutch for working on supercars. If you're working on the top of an engine bay, especially like let's say an Aventador or any rear engine car, and you drop something and you hear that tick tick tunk when it hits the bottom carbon diffuser panel. If you get one of these, you can sneak it down to a lot of areas that you can't even see necessarily. You can even, this is what I do, get it down to a low spot and spin it around, so that way you can catch it in an area, and this will so many times save you when you drop a bit or a bolt or a socket. Like I say, the fact that it's got this copper bending arm just makes it adapt to whatever situation you're in. Alright guys, next on the list is a long bit set. Now this one I went with SnapOn just because I use this all the time, and Torx bits, they break. We're using them for almost all the bolts for wheel liners and belly pans and almost everything in the engine bay. So if it breaks, SnapOn has a lifetime warranty. The only drawback to this kit is that it doesn't have the T30. It goes from the T15 up to the T27. So you do need to tell them that you want to buy the mid-length and the long-length T30s. And I just pulled the Phillips 3 and threw that aside. You don't really need that on a bit set, and replace it with these. But great set, really durable, made in the USA. And anytime you have a problem, you just call a SnapOn guy and he's going to replace it for you. You get super long bits that can then be extended even further by using a magnetic 1/4-inch bit and any kind of extension for any ratchets. So anything that you want to get inside of a dash panel or way on a reach, these things really come in handy. Guys, we're going SnapOn for this one. I don't use SnapOn for all the tools that I have. They are a higher price point, but they also have their benefits. This is what I would call a top tier tool. Again, some of the benefits are for this, it's a torque wrench. This one's an electric torque wrench, so it actually gives you an audible beep when you reach the torque that you are asking for. It allows you to switch between units, so no more jumping on your phone to look up the unit conversions. It'll actually light up yellow, green, and red, and then store the last torque that was achieved before you let off, so you know exactly what torque you put on a bolt. It'll also put a little counter up here to tell you how many bolts you've torqued. So if you're doing a little crisscross sequence and you can't remember, have I hit them all, you can look at that number and see that you did hit them all. Alright guys, so another thing about the SnapOn torque wrench is that it does use batteries, like good old AA's, so you're going to want to get some rechargeable ones that you can throw off to the side so that you're not constantly hurting Mother Earth and just dumping batteries every month. Alright guys, we got another tool that is not SnapOn. You can get online. It's VIM, and this is a stubby bit set with a little ratcheting tool. So this is going to come in really handy for exotics. The bits are about half the shaft length of a normal bit, so you can really sneak them into some pretty tight areas. On Bentley Continentals, you got that W12 stuck in a tiny little engine bay, and there are solenoids in the back of the motor that if you don't have one of these, then you're going to be trying to saw a bit in half, use a 1/4-inch ratchet, drop it, and then you got to get your copper magnet back on again. So this thing is really clutch. The only drawback to this one is get extra of these little ratcheting tools. If you're applying force to break the torque that the car comes into your shop with, or you're trying to make sure you have it torqued all the way down, it will break the teeth inside of this thing. And while you can disassemble it and order some parts, if the tool's broken and you're in the middle of a job, it's gonna suck. This set has come in handy so many times, and it has everything from the torques to the safety torques, triple squares up to 10 Allen heads, screwdrivers, and flathead bits. Really cool tool, VIM Tools. Alright, this one, I actually had to look up the name because it's not printed anywhere, but it's a Neiko, N-E-I-K-O, Hex triple square Allen bit set. And these are a little bit more robust. These aren't the fit in any space style. These are actually 10mm 6-sided bits, so you can use them with the supplied 3/8 or 1/2-inch drive holders, or you can just use a magnetic 10mm in whatever drive, 1/4, 3/8, whatever you want. I would get the magnetic ones because these have a little ball in there and they break and it comes out, and then you'll be dropping these all the time. And when the first time it happened, I just taped it up and just get a magnetic 10mm. But these are awesome, and I've never had one break, and they cost like $40 for this set. It's really the best deal. This would be kind of a tier 2 level tool because it is a stronger quality in the bits, which is really what you want, but it's for a pretty cheap price. This has got to be a must-have for any supercar tech, and I know what you're thinking, like, this is not really a tool, it's a reusable, but the reason I'm bringing this up is because it's so important. This is made by a company called PlastiCover. It is just a sticky film that you can peel off here, and then it adheres naturally to paint surfaces, vinyl wraps. It doesn't leave a residue behind. You're just going to stretch this across the panel of a car and then cut it off wherever you want. You can even double layer it, and if your tool bounces or touches a carbon panel or aluminum panel, you're not going to have a scratch left off. This works great if you're working on a variety of cars and you don't have the factory covers for everything. Really important tool for working on an exotic car is to have a good battery charger. I went with a SnapOn just because of the reprogram or the flash option on here. Basically, whenever you're doing a replacement on throttle body or changing a clutch, you need to do adaptations, which is where the car says, okay, what have you put on here? How far am I going to move this component? And what it's going to send me on the signals from the sensors. In order to do that, you want to have your electrical system at the same level that it will be when the vehicle is operating that thing. So when your clutch is being operated, your car is running, your alternator is charging your battery, keeping you at 14 volts. If you're doing gear adaptation though, you can't have the car running. So if you do that adaptation without the car running, and without a 14 volt supply, the signals coming back that your computer is looking for will not be the same that they would be under a driving condition. So this, if you press this flash button with that connected to the car, it will maintain 14 volts or whatever operational vehicle would maintain during the duration of whatever testing you're going to do. If you do testing or programming or diagnostic repair work on a Lamborghini or on a Ferrari, usually it'll actually stop you if you're using the factory equipment and saying a proper charger is not attached. Make sure you use a good battery charger anytime you're working on the car via diagnostic plug. Alright guys, we got a bonus tool for you. On top of the tin we got a table. And I know you're thinking, you know, like, hey, why is a table so important? And this is so crucial if you're doing clutch jobs. If you are working at home or you're working in a small shop and you don't have $5,000 or $10,000 to put down on a table to remove heavy engine or transmission components, this can serve its purpose. I had some help from Dom at Dominant Engineering. Check him out on Instagram, dope page. Awesome fabricator. He gave me a few pointers. I used a 3x3 inch square tube for the legs. Got some plates cut for the bottom, custom cut for some casters. I use a 4.5 inch caster that's rated to about 500 pounds per caster. And then for the top, you can use whatever type of metal you want. I used a rolled and pickled, so it had a nicer look to it. But I did go a little bit too thin on the material. I mistakenly ordered 3/16 as opposed to 3/8. It comes in 8 foot by 4 foot sections. I had them cut it in half to a 4x4, but unfortunately the cutter bent the sheet, so I'm going to go ahead and just use this for now, but eventually we're going to put a 3/8 inch tabletop on this. You leave it bare metal, you paint the legs. This way you can use it also as a welding table. You just clamp your ground to this, and then if you use the 3/8 and it's flat, you can use that to square off a lot of your welding projects. It's an awesome table to have. This works great. It rolls around. It gives you a great surface that if you spill things on, it's not going to mark. You can magnetic stuff all over the place. Like, this has really been a huge help to me at the shop.